Sure, I had daily issues that I could keep my mouth shut, okay? Whether I do that, I don't know. I really don't have any regrets of opening my mouth at the wrong time. I've always been like that. Every day want to kill everybody, and all week long think about killing them on the weekends. One broken wrist cost me millions. Everything is just about beating their ass, not about money. He's a god, still a god. I looked at him like that. I still do.
In his first video interview in over 20 years, Bob Hanna explains what it really took to become a champion. The endless days of testing, the travel, the crazy road stories, no friends, the broken bones, and his one true hero. Hear it all for the first time on Bob Hanna, The Big Interview. Part 1. No Regrets.
Rolling? No, I posted on Instagram that I was going to come and interview you on Friday. So I said, if you want, as I said to people, if you want to ask him questions, please feel free to ask him. I said, if you want.
They may not like the answers, but,
Well,
but they can have them.
And I said, and don't forget to leave your name, and then he can personally insult you when he comes
Exactly.
to Winston. So there you go.
And I haven't thought about this stuff in 20 years, so it may take some. I don't know. You ask, I'll tell you if I remember.
I'll start. He said, were you friends with Marty Smith back in 1976?
No. Well, I wasn't friends with Marty Smith in 1976.
Were you ever friends?
We were never friends, no. No, and I don't know why anybody thinks we would be. He was the king of the 125s for a couple of years. He's a high school motocross guy. I come from under a rock in the desert and beat him one year, and I wouldn't be friends with me either. And I wasn't there to be friendly, and he and I wouldn't be friends if we were here today. He and I do not mesh probably. And if we were both racing today, it would be the exact same attitude from both of us.
Yeah.
I'll take 50% of responsibility why I'm not friends. I didn't really want to be friends with him. But no, we weren't friendly. I was friendly with guys that factory riders, but most of the time, if you're head-to-head with a factory rider, you're not friendly with that one. So I wouldn't have been friendly with Marty then. And Tony D and I were good friends later. Roger DeCoster and I were great friends later. But at Unadilla in 78, Roger and I were not friends. So.
Is it possible to be is it for anybody really?
No, I was friends with Tripes while we were kind of head-to-head. And we were friends, and then we came kind of head-to-head in the competition. And it was hard for him to be friendly, and I understand that, and try to whip up on you on Sunday.
Yeah.
And as soon as we weren't riding each other, buddies.
Yeah.
But it's hard to be friends. And Tripes and I are way more friendly than Marty Smith and I. Marty Smith and I attitudes doesn't get along.
Yeah.
We're both prima donnas, or you call us what we want. We don't get along. We'll never get along.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't happen.
Which actually is a funny question. Somebody said, what would you change about, if you could change anything, what would you change about your career except for not having Marty Tripes driving the boat?
What would I do about my career besides Marty Tripes driving the boat? Marty Tripes didn't cause that. I should have been paying more attention. I'd never skied with her, so can't really blame him for that. Other than I was with him,
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I would change, I'm sure I had daily issues that I could keep my mouth shut, okay? Whether I do that, I don't know. I really don't have any regrets of opening my mouth at the wrong time. I've always been like that, so I don't. In the Honda years, I should have tamed it down instead of having every day want to kill everybody and all week long think about killing them on the weekends. Because you're not a machine, and you can't do that forever. And that's the biggest mistake I ever made not to. And I was talking about it earlier today about a bicycle racer, of my friend's kid. He needs to know when to tame it down and not train so hard and save himself. Because one broken wrist cost me millions. And it was a stupid.
But, I mean,
But that's what gave me the drive. But I needed to keep the drive, but I just needed to back it down 10%.
But you were always known as the guy that raced at 110%, or did everything.
You only do it so long, you know, and it's good to be motivated, but it would really be good to have some advice from the outside that I was getting the other way at the time at Honda, drive, kill him from the mechanic I was at. And it was bad advice. I mean, we both wanted to win, but shit, we're not a machine, we break, you know.
But back in the early days on the Yamaha, when you started out in Yamaha factory bikes.
Yeah, I don't have any regrets of training too hard at Yamaha. I kind of I did the job, I trained hard. But when I went to Honda, I overdid it. I was 7 days on that bike unless I was on a plane. It was 6 days minimum, you know, and it's just, you wear yourself out. Somebody asked me that year, are you going to burn out? And I go, I've been burned out. That isn't a factor. That's not a factor. I have blinders on, okay? It wasn't about burning out.
Yeah.
Nobody said I liked it. I just wanted to win.
What was it that really motivated? I mean, what was the thing that drove you more than anything?
First of all, I was born with it. I want to be the guy. I want to be the fastest. When Roger DeCoster walked into a room in 1974, his presence at the factory Suzuki, I loved it. I wanted that. Just call it ego, call it what you want. I wanted that. I looked at the way people looked at him. He's a god, still a god. I looked at him like that. I still do. And I wanted that.
So
you know, once I got it, I'll tell you, Roger had a cardboard cutout at the Suzuki, made a full life-size cutout of him in 1976, I believe. They brought it to the awards banquet. And when I saw that, I go, oh my God, they love him. They love him. He's a god to them. And everybody there loved him, you know. They were so glad that he was at Suzuki. Yeah, Suzuki made a cardboard cutout of me in '87. By the time I got it, I really didn't care. Okay, I just wanted to get there. Once you get there, once you've done it, I'm okay with it then.
So once you
But I wanted to get it. It's like racing airplanes at Reno. I wanted to race airplanes with Reno. I did it 5 years. I don't care now. I don't give a crap about it. But I wanted it then. I'd have cut my arm off to do it. Different attitude. I wouldn't do it now. You pay me $500 grand. I go, shove it. I don't want it. I did it. I did the motorcycles. I did that plane. I didn't mind. But at the time, I wanted it bad. And it's really what drove me. It drove me without, you got to have some drive. You got to have some ego. You got to have some want, or you're worthless. If you have no ego and no desire, you can have desire for money. It'll last for a while. I never had the desire for the money. The money was after effect. The contract, I was a jackass negotiating with those guys. But after the negotiation's over, I didn't think money. I didn't win motorcycle races for money. Only 2 days in my life did I think about money in motorcycle races. I know both days. Once I was given one back to Howerton. I gave it to him. I shouldn't have. I'd never do it again. And once was in Europe, it was big money and I wanted it. But that's all. Everything is just about beating their ass, not about money. Money is a facet of it that you get later. But I didn't race for money.
See, everybody talks, lots of people I talk to, some that obviously don't know you that well, but a lot of people think that it was money that motivated.
Not in hell. Not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell.
Yeah.
I negotiated my contracts as good as I could, but money was, I took a cut and pay to go to Honda of $200 grand. I'd have rode that son of a bitch for free. They didn't care. It was about kicking their ass and telling Yamaha, you know, you guys, at that time at Yamaha, the Japanese thought Glover and I were out of shape. And I said, no, your bikes are a piece of shit. And how do you tell a Japanese guy over there, the president of the company, your bike's a piece of shit? He don't get it. He says, no, our guys say you're out of shape. I go, how do I tell a desk jockey that I'm in shape? I go, you're rudely mistaken and I'm going to find that out. You know, Glover was in perfect shape. So was I. The bikes, they were falling down on the bikes. And I wanted that Honda at that time to show them that. You know, it wasn't about money.
It's funny because Warren Reed texted me the other day when he saw that I was coming to interview you, and he said, "I've got a great story about Hannah that'll put it all in perspective." He said, in '84, pre-season '84, we rode at Saddleback Park before Anaheim, and he beat you in both motos. And he said, I went to collect my winnings, and the promoter gave me my check, and he gave me a check for second place. You told the promoter to give your second place money to Warren Reed, because apparently
He needed it.
he needed it.
God, I did.
And in fact, right that next day, whenever he broke his leg at Anaheim, and he was out for a long time. So he said,
I wasn't there for the money. It was peanuts,
yeah. Well, he said that you
And
had-
that year I would be making good salary. That year I'd be making $500,000,
Yeah.
But it wasn't about the money. I don't win the race to make the money or think I got to win this championship because I'm going to get a bigger check. If I would have tamed it down a little bit, because that attitude I had cost me a lot of money in the end.
Yeah. So, kind of going back then to, starting off at Yamaha, when you were racing the 125 early on, obviously the bike was pretty good relative.
Yeah,
to everything
sure.
else. And then, some years it was good, some years it was bad. It goes up and down.
All the bikes go like that.
Yeah. So when was the best year on the
80th on the
Yamaha?
Yamaha. The 76 125 was a good bike. It wasn't the greatest, but it was a good bike. That water cooling was a good idea. And putting it on the handlebars is not a good idea, but it still worked good. And I didn't need the best bike right then because it was new to me and I wanted to do it, But the Yamaha 125 was good. In 77, I believe was the year production bike seemed to be better than the works bikes because I rode a production bike in the Supercross because the works bike wasn't working that well. And then we ended up selling one at auction one off in Pontiac. I think that was 77. And then I think 78, 79, they were pretty good. When I broke my leg, they quit, at the end of 79, they quit development. I don't know what the other guys were doing on the team, but they weren't working on the damn bike.
Well,
And when I came back in end of 81 for 82, that bike was a pile of shit. At Hangtown, it was 35 pounds heavier than Howerton's bike. I'm not saying Howerton's not a great rider. Put that son of a bitch on a 35-pound bike heavier than me and see who wins. Okay, I'm not saying nothing, but you try that sometimes.
yeah.
You could kick my ass with a 35-pound lighter bike. It's a big deal. Okay?
What was it, apart from the weight thing, what was it about Yamahas that ended up, not being competitive? What was the thing that kind of lost you?
That year was weight. Whether it was the greatest suspension, I don't know. But suspension doesn't work good when the bike's heavy anyway. It has to be way better.
Yeah.
So that year was weight, and then once I left, I don't know. I don't know anything about Yamaha after I left there.
Yeah.
They obviously got it back together. They won many championships since then. But they just had the Japanese, maybe, and the works department in Japan, they said, we've been winning. Okay, we're not going to work that hard. Hey, Hannah's out this year anyway. What are we worried about? I don't know. They just let it go. And I didn't need a good bike the next year. I needed a great bike. I come back off a year off. I didn't need a pile of crap. I needed something better. I mean, Howerton's riding good, and he's riding a fantastic bike. It isn't going to be easy to beat him.
Which was, during that period when you were at Yamaha, which was the bike that you most wished you could have ridden instead of the Yamaha back in the 70s then?
Oh, no, I liked Yamaha in the 6 years I rode there.
That was good.
Oh, yeah. I don't know that it's the best.
Yeah.
Marty Smith's 125, and when he came out with that Type 2, probably pretty good bike, probably better than mine. I mean, it was a good bike, and he was a good rider. And he beat me 50% of the time. So the bike was good. His bike was good. Jim Palmer in like 78, his Honda was, I'm sure, every bit as good as my Yamaha.
Yeah. What do you consider yourself to have been a development rider? I mean, from an engineering standpoint, were you good at that?
Yeah, later in years, yeah, sure. I worked at it. I'm not the best, no. If you compared me to Roger DeCoster, no, I'm a 1 on a 10. I mean, Roger's a 10. He truly is. And he cares about it. He doesn't even have to be riding it, he cares about it. Which I don't have that in me like Roger has. Roger cares about it all the time, no matter who's riding a bike. He was a great asset at Honda. A great asset. He's a great asset wherever he is. And at Honda, when they won, you can look at him. They hired good riders, but they had damn nice bikes. Those bikes were Roger.
What was it like? I mean, as you said, you gave up a bunch of money to leave Yamaha and go and ride the Honda, which you knew was a better bike. What was it like then riding for your idol, basically, the guy you'd always looked up to?
Well, riding for Roger, in 78, 79, Roger and I we weren't too good of friends, right? Because he wasn't in his best days there, mind you. So I'm not bragging on when I beat Roger the first time. I'm not bragging because he's older and coming downhill, and I'm coming uphill, and I probably had a little luck too because he's a badass. Okay, you don't beat him very often. And then when I went to Honda and he's running that team, it was like we both had a great deal of respect for each other, I believe, and we meshed perfectly. I love working with him. And he is a hell of a guy to work with. He worked 24 hours a day. I mean, he won't go to bed at night. He says, hey, we got to work. We got to make a new linkage. We had bad linkages on those bikes in 80. I was riding an 82. Actually, I was riding an 82 Honda. When the 83s come out at the beginning of the year, we were testing it. It wasn't going that well. Johnny O'Mara looked at me. He goes, man, you picked a bad year to come to Honda, Hannah. And I'm thinking, no, I didn't. Don't worry about this. But Roger was making the rear linkages quite flat, and he thought that was going to be the way to go, and it really wasn't. It wasn't, especially for my riding style or theirs or Supercross. And we needed a complete new link one night. They went back to Honda. They built a new link. The next morning at 8, we had a new link for the swing arm. You know, Paul Turner built the whole thing. Put it on. There it is. Turner and Roger figured it out from my riding and saying, hey, no, this thing's too flat going through the suspension. I know what we need. We need more curve. They go build it the next day. Bike's perfect. Johnny's going, whee, you know. That's Roger. A good couple of test riders in Roger's brains put that together, and Paul Turner makes the link, and whammo, there's your link.
So when they did the link, was that something that everybody else ended up using, or was it specifically...
For the Honda, no, everybody Honda, we needed a different curve, that's all. I was just using that one thing as as an example. You know, we needed to do linkage the next day. We had it the next morning. Somebody would call, somebody might call Japan, hey, we need a new link, and 2 months later you got to test one. We had to test one the next morning and go, okay, now we can make this better. The next day we'll have another one. That's the way it should be.
Yeah, I know, because in talking to Roger, when I interviewed Roger, we started out saying, so, what's the difference between riding for CZ and those guys and then riding for Suzuki? And he said, well, the biggest difference was when we were at CZ, you'd land off the jump and the front hub would break, and the guys at CZ go, yeah, but you shouldn't be landing on the front wheel. And then you go to Suzuki and they go, oh my God, we have
build
to
a new one.
redesign.
And then they put rings around it to keep it from breaking, the aluminum rings, they're...
Yeah.
And those years, though, Suzuki was the badass bike.
Yeah.
72, 71, 7 to probably clear to 77, you would have been wanting to be on one of those. And there you go back to Roger.
So, one of the things that Jeff Ward was saying the other day when I interviewed him was...
Do we really care?
Yeah, we can.
We do? Okay.
Because I want your opinion.
Okay.
I'll give you his opinion.
Do we care what Jeff Ward said? No?
But Jeff was saying, going back to linkages and all this stuff, so there were, there were years when the bike with Kawasaki just didn't work and it was terrible, but you kind of rode around it. And then we got talking about cars, and he was saying, yeah, well, the difference with cars is if the car's bad, you can't really drive around it. But in motocross, if the bike's bad, the guy can ride.
It's way more rider in motocross, way more rider than bike. You need a good bike, but way more rider than a car. A car, without a good car, I don't care if you're Fittipaldi, you're not winning Indy.
Yeah. So, but when you went to Honda, I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate, like in '83, what would you have rated the bike at?
10.
A 10 from day one?
No, like I told you, when they brought the 83 out, the first 83s, they were beautiful. They had some problems, but it was mainly brakes and the shock linkage and a few little pieces. Once we got that fixed,
Yeah.
it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. You know, Bailey started riding it. I didn't race the 83 at Anaheim.
Yeah.
I raced an 82, which was Donnie Hansen's bike. He got hurt. It's the only reason I even had the opportunity. I rode the 82. The next week, I rode the 83 with a new link, front disc, drum brake in the back, because I hated it. So I don't use the back brake that much. I use the front. And then I got into it eventually running, once we got the pads built, running discs on front and rear, and that bike was fantastic. I rode it at Seattle the first night, won both nights, and it was working good.
Yeah. How different was your bike then to, once you got it figured out,
Then
did
David's-
your bike set up differently to everybody else?
David and Johnny rode a lot softer suspension than me. And in retrospect, when they look back, I think they would probably say they're wrong. Because in Supercross, the suspension went way stiffer, and I had it way stiffer a long time ago. You know, it's not plush, but it works better to go fast. And I think they'd probably, if they thought about it, they'd probably admit that they were a little soft.
Yeah.
I know they were. I know that. I could watch them and I go, too soft. But I think they would admit that. I think they would think that.
Yeah.
If they even remember, you know.
Yeah.
But I remember.
No, David remembers everything.
Yeah,
down to the tiniest
he
detail.
does. He knows every minutia detail.
Yeah, he does.
And I bet he thinks, when he thinks about it, he was probably a little soft. He was softer than me, and I bet he was too soft for Supercross, to be frank.
Yeah. So, looking back 72 through 86, what changed? Obviously the bikes changed a lot. The machines changed a ton in that time. What changed about the riding style? Did riders do things differently between those two periods?
Riders learn, riders get better and better and better, but I believe you take the best rider now, put him in 1978 in a Belgium GP on 78 motorcycles, and Roger would kick the crap out of him. I mean, I hate to tell you. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
It's not, they're so much better than Roger now. Their bikes are way better than Roger's, but they're not better than Roger. I wasn't better than Roger when I came along.
But what about the actual way you rode the motorcycle changed? Did that really change?
Few techniques. Touching the rear, being able to jump a bike and I can jump a bike 50 feet and put my front wheel down or the rear wheel down and on a spot, and I bring the front wheel right down. I like landing on the front wheel. I did that. We learned that we didn't learn that in the old days. We didn't touch the rear brake until probably late 70s, you know. This wasn't a deal, and everybody knows it now. Everybody does it.
Yeah.
There are a few techniques like that, but these guys that think they're way greater riders than those old guys, than Joel or Roger or Heike, they're full of shit. They're full of shit. I know my greatest day and ever in best shape and best bike. I don't want in a GP with Heike and Roger. I don't want in that race. And so these guys today they may think, oh yeah, we're way faster than those guys. No way.
Yeah. One of the questions.
Supercross now has developed and developed and developed. But I even think certain things about Supercross. When Supercross started, there were no tracks the same. These guys go out there in the first lap of practice right now and jump all the triples and all that. Well, how the hell do you think they do that? Because they're all 61 feet with this slope and 80 feet, and they know it before they go out there. In 1980, you did that, you'll bust your ass because you had no idea, and it may be 100 feet, and it's very square. Nasty, dangerous tracks. You didn't walk them, you didn't ride them the first lap very fast, and you didn't ride them for many laps very fast. These guys go out now and go over the whole thing, and I go, are they great riders, or are the tracks, you know, don't tell me how tough they are.
Same with outdoor tracks, though, too?
No, I think outdoors are outdoors. I think
You don't think they're over-groomed? And
Oh, I don't like them. I don't like them over-groomed. Yes, I think they're over-groomed. They took Unadilla and made a pile of shit out of it. And I wouldn't want to ride there. It used to be my favorite track of all time. And they ruined it. And so, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but there used to be grass that tall when we went out there and you went 5 miles an hour because you didn't know if there was a hole left over from the last race. And you didn't know it was there. And now it's like riding a saddleback. So for me, yeah, they ruined it.
so again, one of the questions somebody said was, what if you were the king, what would you change about Supercross or outdoor motocross to make it better?
Supercross, I say, the only thing I say is bad. I think they're killing the riders riding those 450s. Too much bike. And if they don't believe me, my point's still, how many people get hurt every year? Is that your idea to kill the whole friggin' crowd? Every factory rider, break them before the end of the year because you're doing a hell of a job of it. Too much bike. Outdoors, yeah, fun. I love that bike. I would like that bike outdoors. I like that power because the better rider does a better job if he has a powerful bike because he's a better rider than this jackass over here. And if they're both on 20 horsepower bikes, they both look good. You're both racing a Toyota around Willow Springs. You and I are going to be within a second. But put us in an Indy car and it's going to change. Okay?
So, I mean, beyond just...
I say they're killing the riders into Supercross, not by the tracks, by the bikes. I think they had to think about it. They had to tame the bikes down to maybe 350 or something because they're just they get a handful and they're destroying the riders. Is that your point? It wouldn't be mine. I think it's a big mistake. I don't think a guy can ride a bloody Supercross season without getting hurt. I mean, name a guy. Not if he's going to go for it.
But is that, you think that's 90%?
I think it's a bad deal.
You think that's 90% motorcycle and...
Yes. Hell yeah, the riders are great.
Well,
They're tough. They're training all the time. They're great riders. But they're not gods. Like I told you when I needed to back it down in '83, I break just like you do. You know, one broken, stupid bone cost me 2 championships. One little bitty bone. And these guys now, they can't get through a season. I would never get through a season on one of those 450s. I'd be broke in 3 weeks, you know.
If you enjoyed this interview, head over to motocrossthegoldenera.com. Check out the coffee table book, 408 pages of moto history.